cross sides, chest to chest, I'm around past the legs. So I like to think about controlling the position with my movement, staying away from the legs. And the first thing we're going to do for warm-up is just go chest to chest. On the side that's closer, the arm that's closer to the head, you want your arm under the head and grab the armpit is what I like to do. I think it's not correct to squeeze here because I'm locking myself to her instead of just letting gravity do the work. And this hand can do a lot of cool stuff. We don't want to tie it up there. So my elbow will be by the hip, and then my forearm can be working, or on Leland is shorter than me, my bicep can be working the underhook. So it's like a really shallow underhook. And then my hand is on the ground to stop her from rolling me over. If she were to just give me a big hug and roll me over, I can stop it with that hand. Whereas if I was trying to squeeze her and she rolled me over, I'm gonna go. So that's another reason to keep your hands free. And then, so we're here. So to switch sides, I don't want both of my hands on one side of her. She can roll away. So I'm going to, well, I want both my hands on one side, but it's the other side. So I'm going to take my hand out from under her head. I'm going to go elbow to elbow. It's also fine if you can go elbow to armpit, whatever's there, depending on what they're doing. So we go elbow to elbow. I can grab the belt or just put my hand on the hips, no-gi. Then my other hand can come back. I'm going to block the leg. And that makes it so I can straighten my legs and walk around. Once we get to the other side, we can replace our arms. So just going back and forth here. And this will also mess up her arms. So her defense is her hands are protecting her neck and her hands are protecting each other. So the guy on bottom, they can kind of work on making little adjustments to keep their hands in the right spot, even though I'm trying to separate the hands with my body moving on her arms. So that's a good practice for the guy on bottom. Alright, the classic combo you guys can warm up with. It's always fun to warm up with submission chains, and it's good. Boxers don't ever stop practicing their jabs. So I'm here, I go forward base, my leg goes under, wrist to wrist. My whole body brings her arm to the ground. My arm is already lying in weight under her shoulder. My hand punches the rest of the way through, wrist to wrist to wrist. There's just a pile of hands right in front of me. I put my head on it and I drag her arm back to finish the Americana. My elbow is against her head, left elbow. She straightens her arm. I'm going to walk forward with my elbows. So it's, usually I do 2 steps, and then I'm going to bring my chest to the arm. My hips will be in the shoulder or even the face if it's someone with long arms. My head goes on the hand. My arm that's the fulcrum, my hand can slide up to lift her hand for the straight arm bar. She bends her arm down. I'm going to switch my arms. I'm going to lift up, bring my hand under, reach back and grab the wrist, and then we have the Kimura. And there's a lot of different ways to finish that. The cold cut classic combo warm up. So one thing about when we learn cross sides, we want to stand like our goals and what mistakes would be. Is kind of how I break down like broad picture of positions. So my goal is to make my position better or just get a submission and win the match because I'm in a dominant position. It's safe for me to go for submissions. And then a mistake I would make would be like not doing anything with my legs and she's able to just escape. Like I'm not understanding how to control the position and I'm leaving openings. So then mistakes that they can make is, in my mind, there's a lot of mistakes they can make. And so we're going to show some submissions for how to like capitalize on their mistakes. So a big one you see a lot is somebody's got your head wrapped up like this, trying to choke you, and you're just getting around the legs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold the wrist, or I can pinch with my shoulder on the hand and push with my hand. And I'm going to punch my hand that's by her head, my left hand, deep. And then I'm going to grab as deep as I can down her back. And then I'm going to put my shoulder into her neck and choke her. And that's called the Von Flue choke. So I can pinch it to keep her hand trapped, so that once she makes that mistake, she can't take it back. So we're in here, they're trying to guillotine us. We're just getting around the legs. However, we got around the legs and they're still holding on. That's the mistake. So you can hold the elbow to help keep it in, pinch it, or use your hand if you're not too worried about getting rolled over. So lean back, your hips go back to lift them so you can punch your cross-face hand deep. Hand goes down the back, and then you want your shoulder squishing their neck. So I'm trying my pressure to go like down where her lapel is. I'm not trying to crush her face. I'm trying to squish the neck. Oh. Another thing that she could do that's maybe not ideal is grab my head like this. So a lot of times people will grab the head, and there's actually a lot of things I can do from here. But the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to trap this arm that's grabbing my head. So in the gi, you can grab your jacket, is how this is taught like traditionally, but it's fine to just grab the elbow. So, or anything from the shoulder to the elbow is fine. And I'm going to pinch my head and shoulder to keep the arm. From here I can put my hand on the ground and roll them up on the side, step my leg that's closer to her legs up, and I'll step over the head, and we got an arm bar here. So again, so her hand ended up on the wrong side of my head. I'm going to trap it, bring my hand up. This hand is going to help me drop my hips and lift her onto her side. My elbow is going to go to her ribs here before I turn the corner. I'm going to step up, step over the head, and spin around, pinch the knees. We got armbar. And it's okay that my foot is under the armpit, and it's fine to not have this leg over the body. As long as your shin is pushing into them and you're pinching your knees, your ankles by the armpit, it's going to be good. This one might be a little more nuanced for newer people, but I do this a lot. If she pushes with this hand on the hip, that's not really good, and in fact it's kind of dangerous if you do a big hip switch. As we know, someone that got their hand broken across here from trying to post on the hip. But there is a good way to do it. She can grab my pants and push past me. That's an okay way to do it. But it's really not a great idea because I'm going to arm bar her. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to come up. My shin is going to slide into her armpit. My ankle's in the armpit now. I step over, and we can finish this forward, or we can just come back for a finish. So I call that the near side arm bar. So we're in here, and even if she's just pushing with her forearm, which would be fine and perfectly safe, if I can grab the elbow and come up, I can get this. Here. So punish people for pushing your hip.